And now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. North America, all the ships at sea, time again for New Orleans Lame Tour Talk. Let's talk about my 10 non-alcoholic anonymous chip. I just, this past June, picked up 2 years in remission by the grace of God. If you think you might have a drinking problem, you do. If someone has told you you might have a drinking problem, you do. If you have consequenced yourself with alcohol, you have a drinking problem. Please, you can contact me. I don't have all the answers. In fact, I don't have any answers. But maybe I can send you the right direction. God bless you. 1,000 years, this neighborhood was inhabited by groups of pre-Columbian people who lived underneath what I now call our pre-Columbian donut shop. Maybe not that far back. Let's start with 300 years ago in 1718, when a bunch of European Frenchmen decided to build a city here. And by the way, this is the statue of the Marquis de Bienville, who founded the city in 1718. This is a hurricane evacuation route. This is for senior citizens or disabled who can't escape when it's time to get off of this sinking ship. Just come stand by the statue. The buses will come by. No questions asked. Just get on the bus. They had big problems. First, this area was filled with nothing but ne'er-do-wells and people escaping from debts or ex-wives, full of pirates. You remember the time Aunt Clei decided she was going to become a pirate queen and follow the route of Cabeza de Vaca till she got blown off course in a hurricane, ended up in Galveston, Texas, looted a sex store in Galveston, made it to the Sabine River with the Texas Rangers in hot pursuit, and she was just following New Orleans tradition to be a pirate. Then in 1763, a terrific world war ended. That was a colossal disaster. North Americans called the war the French and Indian War, but in the rest of the world it is usually remembered as the 7 Years' War. Fought on France was bankrupt. The British took control of Canada. The British kicked the French out of Canada. They were refugees. They were Acadians. They ended up down here becoming Cajuns. That's quite a different story. Nobody wanted Louisiana to be ruled by the British. That would give the British all the land between the Arctic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. So Louis XV, prompted by his prime minister, made an unexpected and audacious move. He wrote to his cousin, Carlos III, in 1762, offering to give him the Louisiana Territory. Now that French hopes of controlling the North American continent had been dashed, it was no longer worth the expense. Carlos had no alternative but to take Louisiana, because he needed a buffer zone between the aggressive British colonies and the silver mines in New Spain. The offer was accepted, despite the expense and the burden of governance imposed, and Louisiana was to be turned over to the Spanish in 1763. So at first it was very difficult to have Spanish rulers These are the Spanish days from 1763 till 1802. King Charles III, on the other hand, was determined to make a go of Louisiana, even if it cost a whole bunch of money. He was going to save it from being some backward habitat of pirates and ne'er-do-wells. He spent a lot of money on New Orleans, which actually was pretty popular. And as for the Creoles, in 1723 there had been a colossal stock market crash in Paris. These people had been people of influence in France. The court of King Louis XV knew these people. They didn't have any money left, but they had stock in the Louisiana territory, so they moved here to bring civilization to this backwater burg, except these came from the court of Louis XV in France, so you can guess how they behaved. The Creole loses sight of everything that is not part of satisfying his penchants, disdaining everything not marked with the seal of pleasure, giving himself up freely to the whirl that carries him along, transported by his love of dance, music, parties, and everything that charms and entertains his delirium. He seems to live only for voluptuous pleasures. The World That Made New Orleans by Ned Sutlett. Why would they be speaking? God save the Queen. I don't know what. Oh my God. I know who's involved with this. She's here somewhere. Let's see where she is. Oh my God, she's here somewhere. Oh my God. What could this be now? What could this now be? Hello, buttons! I am the new Queen of Spain. You have already been a queen, Clei. Remember when you were the queen of the voodoos, of which voodoos do not have queens, and then you passed out on the park bench, and all the voodoos are mad, and now all the voodoo people are after you. What about that time, Clei? What is it now, hey, Clei? The last time I saw you, Clei, you for unreasonable buttons. You should have seen the bill they sent me for a few sticks of old furniture. Oh man! It was 300-year-old hand-done Louis XV furniture. She tore the whole place up because the Reverend Mother would not turn water into wine for her. It was museum pieces. She offered me New Orleans sewage and water board water. Why, whoever would drink that? I would dream of such a thing. And so we're doing this. Why, Clei? Very simple buttons. As Queen of Louisiana, Louisiana will be one of my colonies. The federal marshals will have no jurisdiction here and have to leave. The Texas Rangers will have to go back across the Sabine River. And I shall banish the Ursuline nuns from my colony. Done and done. What could go wrong? Oh Lord. And Clei niece, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Who knows what to do with her? It's like it's her own world. She's her own special creation. I don't know what to do. While they had their great benefactor, King Charles III, unfortunately there was a terrific hurricane in the summer of 1787, about a block away from St. Louis Cathedral was the home of Mr. Nunez, who was the Spanish Minister of Finance. Very religious man, had 50 candles going in his chapel on Good Friday in 1788. People report the wind was gusting off the river. It was a powerful wind coming in. Mr. Nunez left the candles in the chapel going. They caught the curtains. And the next thing, the entire city was burned. Within 5 hours, out of 1,000 buildings in the city, 800 of them had been destroyed.